All right, guys, so here we go. The Krytac is here, the PDW, which is the Trident Mark II PDW-M, which is different than the original PDW, which was key mod. So I know besides the M-lock being the difference in this actual rifle itself, they've done some other things, and we're gonna dive into that as well. So first impression, it's a Krytac box. Not sure if the Trident series has a different box than maybe some of the other ones, but I do like the box. Has like their cracking going on, pretty sweet. So I'm excited to open this. This is a true unboxing and they always will be. I want my excitement to be shared with all of you. First thing I notice is, of course, the actual user and owner's manual for the Trident Mark II PDW-M. I really like their actual owner manuals because it does have like a dossier look to it. Safety rules, specifications, loading the magazine, pretty much just the stuff you read it on your own. Give you a little bit of a nice sticker, throw that onto a Pelican case or a Yeti cooler, or if you're poor, an Arctic. Nice thing, I guess that's for some additional protection, so get rid of that. And here it is, the Krytac Trident Mark II PDW-M. So really excited about this one. I've been playing with a full-length rifle for a long time now, and I'm kind of looking for a change-up. So I went to something shorter, and I guess this is where I fell. First thing I noticed, obviously, is this beautiful looking gun, aesthetically pleasing, and definitely something I can't wait to actually get to play with. But we'll get rid of the ancillary items. You have your very, very short cleaning and unjamming rod, which is pretty typical in any marker that you're going to purchase. There is a additional black tip that it comes with. Nice full metal to replace this hideous orange tip. You get a nice small M-lock segment, which is fantastic because if you're running cameras or a laser or a flashlight, anything really, this is gonna come in handy. Or you can go onto Amazon or back onto wherever you got this marker or wherever you get your marker and buy yourself some additional rails to add that are M-lock, nice full metal rail system there. It does come with a Dean's to Tamiya converter, and that just makes me realize that this is actually connected out of the box stock to Dean's, which is better anyway, in my opinion. According to a lot of people that I have gotten to know within the community of Airsoft, Dean's seems to be kind of the hot trend, better trigger response, or whatever you want to call it. But this actual connector, just in case you want to run a battery, which I'm sure no battery that you own will fit into this stock, I would just buy Dean's, get some Titan power or something like that. Also, obviously, the magazine. This, I believe, is their new magazine, and this is nice because typically I find that whenever I purchase a new rifle of any kind, that is of the M4 platform, they're high caps. This is a mid cap. This is really, really nice to see this. It's nice and sturdy, has a good weight to it, has some stippling on here and some actual impressions, make it easier to grip, but really looking forward to checking this out. So that's a nice little bonus. Thanks, Krytac. And then you also have your backup sights. These are plastic or polymer. You have a nice distinct click to it, so that's fantastic. Nice thing, a lot of people won't run backup sights when they throw on some glass or some optics of their choosing, but if you're playing these 40-hour Milsim vents and you find yourself out there, you never know if you don't have an extra battery and your optics go down. I don't know if you've ever played without having an optic, but it's a kind of a pain in the ass. It's hard to see where you're shooting sometimes, especially if you're still trying to use that hollow glass with no reticle to try and hit your target. So that's very nice to have. I'll throw it on most likely. And then also have the rear backup flip-up sight. Two different apertures, which is great, so that you can obviously change that to your preference depending on the light, typically night, versus day to allow the light to pass through. First impressions on this rifle itself is it's solid. It's full metal. Krytac did a billet style receiver. They are aluminum alloy, both top and bottom, so upper and lower receiver are aluminum alloy. It does have a nice sturdy 5.5 pound weight to it out of the box with no attachments, which is actually the same as their longer variation like the CRB. For the externals, let's start from the front and work our way back. Obviously here, the length in total of the gun is about 21 inches. Just to cross-reference, it's about 21 inches. Maybe a little bit smaller, fully collapsed. And then if you actually extend the rifle, it's about 24 inches in length. So on the front, you see that it does come with a orange tip. The box did come with a extra black tip for you to replace. A little bit of glue holding this together most likely, so you might need to heat it up and be careful so you don't break it. It is not a cheap rifle, so just be careful when you're doing that. Obviously, depending on where you are located, what country, what your regulations are, if you need to leave that orange tip on there, don't mess with it. Just don't do that. Keep yourself safe, don't get shot. The front of this, which is where we're gonna start, is a 14 millimeter negative thread. So you might be able to throw on a suppressor or a tracer unit, depending on how far back these actual threads recede into the weapon itself. It is a 5-inch aluminum handguard, obviously M-lock with the M-lock marking right here for you to see. And you can add those additional rails on there for any of your attachments, cameras, anything like that. It does have the Defiance location of Chesapeake, Virginia, and it also does have some crisp markings here, TR205. Not sure if that's a serial number, if that's specific to this handguard, but it is there. So let's move to the middle of the rifle itself. On top, we find a continuous rail so that you can add your attachments here. It does have a nice solid feel to this as well. It does have a very, very nice charging handle, which does expose the rotary style hop up. This does lock back. This bolt actually does lock back, so which is fantastic because it adds that little bit of realism to the rifle itself. And the actual bolt release does work. So I'll show you from this angle as well. So bring it back, and obviously it closes there. As we move down, you'll see that it does have an ambidextrous fire selector. So safety, semi, full. Not the most distinct clicks in the selection of the fire modes, but it is pretty nice. Doesn't seem like it's gonna get bumped while you're playing and accidentally go while you're playing CQB from semi-automatic to full auto, unless you're playing at a facility that does allow that. The trigger is a nice flat trigger. Does have a pretty short pull to it, which is nice. Between that, the Dean's connection, the response, the snappiness, I'm excited to shoot this. Once again, down here, another only polymer piece is the actual grip itself, which is covering the motor, which is something we'll get into in a second, but it does have some nice ergonomics to it. It's not super aggressive. There's no crazy stippling. There is some stippling here and also 3 finger grooves to add some ergonomics to it. So pretty excited about that, but it is not super aggressive, which is totally fine. Here with the trigger, you also do have an integrated trigger guard. So it is built directly into the lower receiver, which is very nice, very clean and sleek, and pretty happy with that as well. The next part I want to touch on is going to be the stock itself. It is an upgraded stock, tanker style, which is different than the PDW originally created for the Trident series. It is a aluminum 2-position sliding stock where you just press this button down here, and that will allow you to obviously adjust the length of the stock itself. If you do want to actually take the stock off altogether, there is a tab right here that you can press in, as well as the lower portion of the actual stock, and take it off completely. That way it might make it a little bit easier to access your battery compartment within the aluminum buffer tube. One thing I really like about this is that they changed it from a entry point of being an Allen key or hex key, whatever you call it, and they changed it to just a very, very strong spring-loaded tab that if you get your finger in there, it does have a door, nice hinge, which brings up those Dean's connectors. Tuck this back in there, put this back on. Nice and easy. Press them down both again, and you can collapse the stock. They did upgrade the buffer tube for more battery space to give you a little bit more of a range of what batteries you can use, and I do seem to like it a lot. So we'll see what I can actually fit in there. Now let's jump into the internals. Once again, we'll start from the front, move our way back. We do have a 155 millimeter inner barrel at 6.05. Feel free to upgrade, throw in a nice maple leaf hop-up or anything like that, and obviously bring it down to a 6.03, or if you're feeling super spicy, 6.01. It does have, like I said, the rotary style hop-up, which does have markings on there up to 15, so you can see how much hop is necessary, and you can remember what works for you, depending on the weight BBs that you are going to be shooting. Obviously, as we move back in here, we do have a version 2 metal gearbox powered by a long type motor underneath the Defiance grip. As we move down into the internals of the stock, clearly it does have a Dean's connection with that small type converter in there that you can throw in there if you choose. But it does have a quick change spring system as well, which is really nice. I play a lot of milsim events, and they're not always right on top of one another in regards to where you're engaging your contacts. So I did go ahead and I bought a Krytac M120 spring. The gearbox can obviously handle that because it's the same gearbox that's in the CRB. So first for shooting, we did semi at 25 yards with 0.25 gram BBs. Honestly, for such a short rifle at a pretty good distance, not bad. Pretty happy with the semi-automatic fire in this. Let's check out full auto with some controlled bursts. Unfortunately, our chrono wasn't cooperating while we were filming, but we did check it later, and it was shooting at about 335 with 0.25 gram BBs, so that's right on the money for what they said it's going to shoot. This is the first of a two-part video series that we're going to start releasing. We will do the unboxing, the review, the specs and details, followed by an actual battle-tested review to show you how it keeps up with our aggressive play. Please like, subscribe, and keep tuning back in for more from Grimnir Tactical.